A civil nuclear cooperation agreement inked between Singapore and the US has entered into force. Known as the 1-2-3 Agreement, this will see the two countries collaborating in areas like nuclear safety and security, as well as facilitate Singapore's access to information and technological expertise. The deal was signed in July and will last 30 years. Well, what this will mean for Singapore, we're joined by Somnath Kansabanik, and he joins us right here in the studio. He's principal at Rystad Energy Singapore. Well, thanks so much for coming in this evening, Mr. Somnath. This matters because Singapore needs to meet its green energy goals. It wants to curb carbon emissions, but it wants to do so in a transparent and well-regulated manner. And this 1-2-3 agreement is one of the frameworks that might ensure this. How might that be?
This is the right framework for countries to kind of learn from US. US has made a lot of progress in the nuclear technology, especially for power development. Considering all the options that we have for decarbonization, nuclear is one of the cheaper as well as low carbon way to kind of get your energy. And this is one of the right framework and a safe way to kind of countries to kind of work together and develop nuclear capability, which includes the nuclear power. A key step for meeting the increasing energy demand, especially from the data centers with the growth of the AI.
All right. When you say it's the right framework, this is because it allows the sharing, we just mentioned, of technology, but with a very open and salient commitment to non-proliferation. That's part of the 1-2-3 agreement.
That's correct.
How does this work?
So this is part of the US law under the atomic energy. There is this particular section, and all the countries that sign to this have to kind of be very transparent about the use of nuclear material, nuclear technology. And in case things don't go right, they have the responsibility to kind of surrender all the equipment as well as the technology they have gotten so far. So it's a very established framework. It's not nothing new. There are many countries in the region, they have signed up for this, including Japan, India, China. They have all signed up for this. So overall, we see it's a very clear, safe, established framework for progressing nuclear energy.
All right, but it does not necessarily mean an automatic commitment to civilian nuclear power. It just means a promise to share technology and expertise in a transparent, regulated fashion. So Singapore, a big part of this is also building up the kind of expertise. So looking at a pool of at least 100 staff who are skilled in this area. How would this agreement translate into developing that kind of workforce right here in Singapore?
So Singapore has announced plans to 100 nuclear scientists and talent in general. In general, what we see, there is a global shortage of nuclear specialists in general. So overall, this agreement will provide access to the first program. So first program is basically the framework under which the nuclear specialist in Singapore can learn about this SMR technology. So SMR is short for small and modular reactor. This is something really coming up as a new way where the capital requirement to build a nuclear power plant is significantly lower. And in a country like Singapore where land is a scarcity, SMR could be a solution. And in fact, in our power plant, there is a possibility that 10% of the power in Singapore could come from SMR and or other nuclear technologies. So overall, signing up this agreement opens up the door for access to the first program. And there are also a lot of advancements that are happening in the nuclear world. So there are next generations of reactor technologies that are coming up. So learning about the basic SMR or about the new development that are happening, this is the framework to go for.
Okay, very quick final question, and I'll try to keep this short. So Vietnam and Philippines also signing this 1-2-3 agreement. So if you think of it, hub and spoke, right? So each one of us signing this with the United States. At some point, we are going to be needing to sign something with each other, or is it sufficient to just sign with the US and so bilaterally to ensure that we keep to that framework without working with each other, given that within the region, we are going to need to work with each other? Final question.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a very interesting question, and this is my favorite question. So what we see is that Singapore can play a regional leader in developing nuclear talent and expertise, right? And what we think is that Singapore could become the hub of nuclear talent, as well as Singapore could develop all the safety protocols in the right way so that nothing can go wrong. And in the region, there is one country that could be trusted. It is Singapore.
Oh, thanks so much for that, Mr. Somnath Kansabanik, Principal at Rystad Energy Singapore. Thanks for coming this evening and joining us.
Thank you very much.
The significance of this 123 agreement.